Okay, so now just wait and I'll tell you when to come in, okay? Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Okay, Gene, good to go.
Welcome, everyone, and good to see you all tonight. This is Jean McDowell with TradersCoach.com, and we've got a great presentation for you for our weekly Wednesday Night Live. We have Bennett McDowell speaking, and he will be talking about some really terrific important lessons from a rogue trader, and we can learn lessons from that trader to avoid ruin. Bennett McDowell is the founder of TradersCoach.com, and he has written many best-selling books. And Bennett, without further ado, I will turn it over to you.
All right, Gene, thank you very much, folks. It's great to be here and welcome to today's Wednesday Night Live. All right, so we're broadcasting over a variety of different social platforms, and wherever you're tuning in, hey, it's great to have you here. All right, so today's topic, we're going to be here together about, I'd say half an hour or so, but we're going to talk about some lessons that we can learn from a rogue trader who did it wrong, okay? And the main thing is he didn't use risk control or things like that, but he actually failed on a very grand scheme of things, so to speak. And so we're going to walk you through and kind of cover that because I think we can learn a lot as independent traders from his mistakes. Before we get going, just a quick statement on the disclaimer or risk involved in trading. You know, without that risk, I say there's no opportunity, and I think that goes not only for trading but for life events as well. But we want you to make sure that you do understand the risks involved in trading. It's possible to lose some or even all your money trading or investing in the markets. And we want you to learn how to do risk control and, of course, trade with money you can afford to risk, and always check with your money manager before implementing any of the trade ideas that we may recommend here. Gene's already introduced me, but I want to welcome you all and also have you go over to our website, TradersCoach.com. We actually got a lot of free videos there. And we're located in San Diego, as you can see from my hat, San Diego Padres. And we'd love to have you join our mailing list and keep current on the market events. I've written several books that are available at Amazon. I'm going to put the link below in the recording of this event so you can actually access them directly. But our newest book I'm really excited about is called Money Management for Traders. And that's the book on the far right. Brand new, just released it a week ago. It's a very concise, specific book on how to implement a risk control program in your trading. So it's really, really good. We've already gotten it out to a number of people. The reviews have been super so far, and they should start showing up on Amazon very, very soon. And we've gotten several emails from people. So they're enjoying the book, and I think you will too. We've got many, many other books as well on different forms of technical analysis, and you can check those out as well. All right, let's get into the topic. All right, so this is one of the great cautionary tales of all traders, and it took place back in the 1990s. It happened at a large British institution, and I'm giving it away here, called the Barings Bank. Some of you may already start to realize what I'm talking about here. And it actually, the whole bank, he collapsed the bank due to his actions. One trader and his team collapsed the bank. And of course, the trader's name is Nick Leeson, the original rogue trader. How many out there have heard of him? How many have heard of Nick? Quite a few. Okay, excellent, excellent. All right, cool. All right, cool. All right, so let me keep going here and show you what he looks like. There he is. There's Nick in his pit trading outfit there, his big jacket. All right, black and gold stripes. That was the trading jackets back then on the floor of the exchanges, and he was in Singapore, and that is how they used to do it. Of course, it's more electronic today, but that was kind of the way it was back then. Now, he was just 25 years old, and he was appointed as the general manager for Barings in Singapore. So he was working out of Singapore. His focus was the futures market on the Singapore International Monetary Exchange, also known as the CIMEX. Like all of us who trade, Leeson was ambitious. Nothing wrong with being ambitious, as long as, of course, you're using risk control. Achieving success requires ambition, but you'll see that it was reckless ambition that got him into big trouble at the bank. Coupled with his recklessness, Leeson's problems were also caused by his lack of training and lack of risk control. His base knowledge was completely inadequate to trade the markets, especially in such a big way. So the lesson here is he lacked risk control. The other lesson really is that he operated in a realm of psychology of denial. When he started to have losses, he kind of pushed them aside. He didn't really face them. And of course, that leads to even more problems than just the lack of risk control. But in this case here, the whole thing started with risk control. How many people out there have a risk control structure built into their trading? I hope many of you do. All right, looks like, yeah, quite a few do. Great. All right, so what happened when Leeson's recklessness, ambition, and insufficient training were left unchecked is now a matter, of course, history. But it is a lesson for all of us, which is why we're going to share that today. It all started with a comparatively small loss, like they all do, right? And that basically he didn't want to really take a look at it or learn from it instead he just swept it aside under the carpet, so to speak. Now, it was back in July 17, 1992, when one of his inexperienced traders sold rather than bought 20 contracts, resulting in a 20,000 pound loss. Now listen, mistakes happen. I can't tell you how many times I have hit the buy button when I meant to hit the sell button. The problem is you got to cover that mistake immediately, even if you take a small loss, because you don't want that loss to turn into a big loss. So instead of doing that and owning up to a mistake, he created a fake error account and kept the error trade. And he called this account 5/8 account. And of course, it was to hide the losses, which began a dangerous pattern of deception. So basically what he was doing is when he made that accidental trade, he didn't correct it. Instead, he thought it would come back. And he put it, however, when it didn't, he put it into a new account called the 5/8 account. So think of the 5/8 account as an off the books type of an account. And this is where he put losing trades that basically were getting out of hand, so to speak. Leeson and his team continued to make extremely speculative trades for the bank. They were betting big on a favorable outcome and basically no cover in case the market went against them. So basically they were taking large positions, no risk control, and when the trades went against them, he had no place to get out. He had no thought process on what to do when the trade went against him. So he had little regard to controlling risk. It was easy for him to hide these rogue trades as long as they were profitable or as long as he moved the losers into the 5/8 account. So when the trade was profitable, even though he didn't use risk control, some trades are going to be profitable, he kept those on the books, the good books. The losers, he started placing or moving over into the 5/8 account. His lack of knowledge and discipline soon led to even bigger losses. By the end of, get this, by the end of 1992, he lost the bank 2 million pounds. That's right, 2 million. And by the end of 1994, just 2 years later, those losses went from 2 million to 208 million pounds. Now, you would think the bank would have had some type of oversight or auditing process. And they did, but they didn't get down into the nitty gritty. I think basically what happened is Nick was able to sidestep that by either not being in the office, not showing up for the audits, saying he was busy and things like that. That's my understanding of how he got around the audits a little bit. Okay, however, in a desperate move to regain those losses, he bet even bigger in January 1995. Kind of like revenge trading, right? Those bets turned again into losses and drove the lease into make continued riskier new trades, which also lost. The final tally of losses came to 1.4 billion US dollars. Unbelievable. One guy with his team, he did have a team working with him, but he had one guy responsible, and that was himself, for making these trades and, of course, pushing the losers off into another account. All right, unbelievable story, actually, that one person could do that. But notice how all losses start as small losses. And I think that's the lesson for us as traders, that we have to use risk control. And when the risk control, if we're stopped out of the market, you don't think twice about it, you get out. And the amount you will lose, should be calculated so you know exactly what you're going to lose. And this is why at traderscoach.com, we spend a great deal of time on risk control. I've developed a whole suite of software, from the risk reward calculator, trade size calculator, and trader's assistant, in order for you to handle the risk component of a set of trading rules. So use it, okay? And if you don't use it, go to our website and check it out, because they're very inexpensive and they'll save you. They really will. All right, so Barings, the oldest bank in the world, established in 1762, collapsed in 1995 with losses of 1.4 billion US dollars. Okay, huge, right? Huge. The losses amounted to 2 times the bank's available trading capital, and as a result, Barings was declared insolvent and shut its doors a month later. And this is the Time magazine cover back on March 13th, 1995. And of course, it's all titled Ego and Greed, because it was. All right, he didn't want to acknowledge his losses. His ego wouldn't let him. His ego wouldn't let him close out losing trades. And I think as traders, you know, we all can kind of relate a little bit to those feelings of not wanting to get out of the market because we get married to a forecast, but get out, you have to. When it's time to get out of a market, when you're stopped out, you have to go. All right, so this is the inside story on Time magazine of the 28-year-old at the time, okay, who blew $1 billion, broke a bank, and stunned the world. What a story, right? All right, so this 200-year-old bank was brought down by one person, one rogue trader. That's why we call him a rogue trader, and by the lack of the accountability of the Barings Bank staff. And I think that's a big deal too. They didn't have any type of real accountability at the Barings Bank, and they weren't auditing. I mean, you know, the money was disappearing, so you certainly would have thought they would have been on top of that. But it's a pretty shocking story that it got that far before the problem was identified. But here's the thing, every trader is vulnerable to ruin when they don't use risk control. How many people out there, okay, are using risk control right now? Hopefully a lot, because most of you are my clients, I think, out there. All right, good, quite a few. Again, if you don't, or you don't know how, grab my books on money management, because that will also help you get educated in the realm of risk control. Risk control is as important as entries and exits. It really is. All right, because you're not going to win on every trade. That's the thing. So do you think something like this could happen to you? Let me ask that question. What do you think? Sure. Jeff says sure. Dave says sure. Mike says not anymore. Okay, so it depends. All right, it depends on where you've been. Have you had a big loss? Let me ask another question. Have you experienced a large loss? And this is mostly for my traders on GoTo webinar. One says, yes, a long time ago. And of course, not anymore, okay? Or has a trade gone bad? I can tell you from my standpoint, all right, I want to share a little story of my beginning. When I first started trading, and this is back in the probably 80s, late 80s, 90s, all right, I had some trades go against me on Applied Materials. And I had some options on those trades. I became married to the forecast. I definitely became married to the forecast. And that was the kiss of death right there, because the stock basically hit my stop. I said, oh no, this will come back. This is just a small temporary setback. And of course it didn't. And it got worse and worse until I finally closed the position out. All right. And it was a fairly large loss for me at the time because I was just starting out. It was almost a year's salary. And so it was pretty tough, both emotionally and financially. But it taught me a really, really big lesson. And that lesson, of course, is to use risk control. And when it's time to get out, it's time to get out. Don't get married to your stock and get your ego out of the way. All right. So it taught me a really, really good lesson. And we're trying to get to you today so you don't have to experience that financial and emotional setback, because it really is when you lose your hard-earned dollars more than you should. Okay. So keep that in mind. All right. So, the more certain you are trade, it doesn't matter. You still need to use risk control. I can tell you a lot of my trades that I think are going to be home runs, sometimes are not. And so you have to protect yourself with that risk control. So really important stuff. Now, in the markets, okay, we don't deal with certainties. We're always dealing with probabilities. Nothing wins all the time. I don't care what trading system you're using, you're not going to win all the time. And so for you to make sure those times when you're losing, those losses are controlled, because then, all right, it's just a business person's loss and you can come right back. But if that loss is huge, then it's much harder to come back. So we try to keep all our losses at no more than 2% of our account value. Okay, that's kind of the basic rule. All right, so while I didn't lose enough to bring down the entire bank, I did lose a huge chunk that almost destroyed my own trading account. And I had to build it back up, and build it back up I did, and I started out again. But it was a setback, and that's what happens if you don't use risk control. All right, so what are you going to do to fix it? 2 easy steps. 1, let's go through these. Start using money management now. It's that simple. Flick the switch on. You can use it right now. And then work on your trading psychology to get your ego out of the way. So let's take a look at this. First thing you should be doing when you're talking about money management and acknowledging your trading results is to keep some form of table. Now, we've developed a trader's assistant model, both software and printed cards, where actually you can keep track of the information like we have here. So for example, you're going to want to know the amount you start at, the basics. You're going to want to know your payoff ratio. You're going to want to know your win percentage. You're going to also want to know your average wins versus your average losses, which is the makeup of your payoff ratio. You're going to want to know the average number of days you're in a trade, or hours if you're day trading, or minutes depending on the day trading amount. Largest percent drawdown, average drawdown, total percent profit and loss for a given time period. These are the kind of results you should be keeping track of when you trade. I don't care if you're a day trader or position trader. This is what you need to be doing, because this keeps you from denying your results. And so if things start to slip and you're not doing good, fix it instead of putting it into a 5/8 account like Leeson did. All right, so here's just an example. One of our students sent this in, and they keep track of all their trades on their ledgers, and really great. All right, here was his equity curve, did really well. And this book has all the money management formulas and covers all aspects of money management. And this is available on Amazon. Very inexpensive price. I think it's just under $15 or so. All right, so you can check that out. For 2 gallons of gas today, you can just about buy this book. Couldn't say that a couple months ago. All right, next thing is work on your trading psychology. Work on your confidence and your stress. If you find you're really stressful after every day of day trading, especially if you're a day trader, all right, then you probably don't have a set of rules that you're following, or you're not using the proper software tools to reduce that stress. Okay, so work on that. So basically, before I leave today, because we try to keep these within a half an hour or so, I want you to realize that no matter who you are, what background you come from, okay, you can be successful in this business, but you also have to be smart in how you approach it and realize that we are all vulnerable to ruin if we do not implement money management and a proper form of trading psychology. And again, with trading psychology, you don't want to be denying your results. You want to face them and fix them. You also, with trading psychology, of course, want to be able to have a stress-free career in trading. You don't want to be stressed out in this business. And if you follow rules, if you have a set of rules, it's going to go a long way to reducing that stress. And of course, those rules include very, very strict risk control. All right. And also too, realizing that you deal in a realm of probabilities. And when you deal in a realm of probabilities, anything can happen, and it does. And when it goes against you, you just get out. And that's part of the business model. All right. So we want you to start this sooner rather than later. And the idea again is to get to you now before you actually experience a very real large loss in your account because you didn't realize that risk control was so important. And I think, you know, when we first start out in trading, I can remember when I first started out, somebody mentioned to me, you know, trading is a lot of psychology. And I was thinking to them, psychology and trading, isn't it just entering, exiting, and walking away with money? But when you start trading, you realize how you're really trading against your own psychology. Because how many times have you gotten out of trends too soon because you literally talked yourself out of that trade? And that's usually fear driven. Or perhaps you jump in on a trend because everybody else is and you don't want to miss out, only to find you were the last one in. And then you get of course crushed when the market pulls back. That happened on quite a few stocks like FCEL. It happened on for a number of people that got in late. And same thing with Bitcoin that got in late. It pulled way back. So if you have a set of trading tools, they'll give you the right time to enter and exit. And if you need help with that, check out our trading tools at traderscoach.com. So we have those in addition to risk control. All right, so another thing that I wanted to bring up today that I think is really important is also to our money management course. We have an online course that goes into real excellent detail on money management. And for those of you that took the time to attend today, I'll put this link in the bottom if you're watching the recording or if you're on YouTube or whatever. We'll put this in the bottom when the webinar ends, and you can order this and you can save 50% for a limited time, okay? So that's a good deal for you. If you want to delve into a more specific way, you can implement money management into your trading. All right, so I want to thank everybody for attending. Good turnout today. If you have any last minute questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, Gene, I'm going to turn it over to you.
That is one hell of a story, isn't it?
It sure is. It's kind of unbelievable, actually, that one person could do that, bring down a bank like that. And I got to tell you, it's even more amazing that the bank had poor oversight.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Crazy. But A good lesson, right?
Good lesson, absolutely.
All right. Well, great event. Thank you everyone for being here, and nice to see all these familiar names in the webinar room. And without further ado, Bennett, I think I will close the room, and thank you all for attending Wednesday Night Live. We look forward to seeing you next Wednesday and every Wednesday. Have a great night.
Okay, Gene, thank you. And we will be back here each week on Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time. We're out here in San Diego. So wherever you are, if you're on the East Coast, that's 7:30, of course. And feel free to tune in. These are sessions will be broadcasted on a variety of different social platforms that we deal with, which is YouTube, LinkedIn, and of course, Facebook. So you can easily tune in, and we'll put the recording up on YouTube. All right, so that's it from here. Have a good one.